the brain and the immune system work together for mental health. So it's really a total body thing. It's no longer just take this.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to reduce stress, anxiety, and even depression, especially during this crazy time, we have the Healthy Brain Book show for you. Today I'll be talking with Dr. William Sears, one of America's leading and most famous health experts and best-selling authors, and the co-author of a brilliant new book on de-stressing your brain, the Healthy Brain Book. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about the top 10 stress busters to think change your brain and reduce stress, anxiety, and depression fast. That plus we'll talk about renting boats and don't worry, Mon, feel and good. Mind muting, meditation swims, the power of M&Ms, what on earth is the God effect, and what in the world sisters, and White Christmas has to do with anything. So welcome back to the show. Gotcha, Bill. Are you ready
hi,
to shine?
Michael, I'm ready to roll.
Woohoo! All right, before we dive right into things, I've heard of a new term recently that everybody's experiencing on the news. They scroll from negative story to negative story to negative story to negative, and it's called doom scrolling. Are our brains completely out of balance right now?
You nailed it. We are out of balance. Brains out of balance summarizes all this epidemic of anxiety and depression. And what concerns me also, Michael, is anxiety and depression and all the Ds, ADD, OCD, BPD, AD, you name it. My office day in my medical practice is full of Ds. And it's happening at a younger and younger age. I'm seeing depression in 7 and 8-year-olds. So I say, good night, bad news. Go down with it. Shut it off sometimes. Or limit it, at least.
So, and we're going to dive more into this. I'm fascinated that kids would have depression at age. Before I even go into psychoneuroimmunology, why are kids at 7, 8 years of age? Because I've heard of them being medicated at this age. What in the world's going on, Bill?
Well, they're medicated because nobody has the time to deal with it. Oh, doctor, my 8-year-old's depressed. Well, here, take this next. So the first tip, Michael, is how to wisely use a healthcare provider. And we doctors call this the doorknob diagnosis. They come in for a regular checkup. The checkup's finished. The doctor has her hand on the doorknob ready to leave the room. And mom says, oh, by the way, I've been depressed. Or my child's depressed. Doctor, can you help me? That's not the best way to do it. So here's the best way to do it. You're depressed, you're anxious, you have one of the Ds. We call it in our family, Michael, we call it stuff. So the first thing, if you have stuff and you make an appointment with your healthcare provider, call and say, I want a extended appointment to discuss my mental health. And they allow you more time.
Yeah.
Secondly, you bring in a one-page bullet summary.
Yes. I used to do this myself when I had ADHD symptoms. Here's what I've got because I know you've got 10 minutes or less.
Yeah. Here's my thing. Here's what I feel. Here's what my school says. Here's what my mate says. Here's how I need help. This is what I've tried. This is what works and what doesn't. So the doctor looks at it and says, okay, I think I can help you. So that's the best way to use a healthcare provider.
So, and that kind of jumps the whole thing. And I want to get into this psychoneuroimmunology here in a second. But what you're saying is you're talking about pills and skills. And the idea that we go in and just get a pill without getting the skill is bad news, isn't it?
Bad news. I couldn't have said it better. That's bad news. And the reason is, number one, the doctor only has time for pills. Here, take this. But the patient says, doctor, what do I do? Not only what do I take, what do I do? So you're not a patient, you're a partner. Mm-hmm. Remember that.
Thank you.
You're not a patient in your mental health. You are a partner. So doctor, I need not only what can I take, the pills, Temporarily, the pills will help, maybe to get you over the hump, so the skills will check in. But it's never pills only. It sometimes is skills only, but it's sometimes pills and skills. So the skills, Michael, are what we're talking about. And the skills are what's in the Healthy Brain book. And it's almost like when we wrote the Healthy Brain book for a doctor who hands out the pill in one hand and the book in the other. Take this, read this, and do this.
Thank you. And we really need this today because I can't see with all of my coaching clients, with everybody I've got, if I do coaching clients, my boot camps, my mini master classes, I've got about 1,000 students or clients I'm working with at any one time right now. And they're freaked out. That's the clinical term. They're completely freaked out right now. They're not sleeping. They're wired, they're twired, they're depressed, they've got the full works, as you're calling it, all the D's right now. So let's dive into some of the skills today. First off, what is psychoneuroimmunology, the word that I keep struggling with here?
Psychoneuroimmunology. Wow, you just made brain cells by pronouncing that word. Basically, it's how the brain and the immune system work together for mental health. And what we're finding, and the reason is, it's not just, say, you're depressed or anxious. That's a total body thing. So let's imagine, Michael, you came into my office and you opened with, Doctor, I'm depressed and I'm anxious. And I would say to you, surprisingly, well, Michael, how's your gut? And you think, well, I came in from my brain, not my gut. So no, let's start with your gut, because the gut is the second brain. And I say, well, how'd you know, doctor? I'm queasy all the time. That's right. So let's start with what you had for breakfast. Let's start with what you had for lunch and dinner. Let's start with your diet, because the gut brain, your intestines, monitor the head brain. When you feel good in the gut, you're going to feel good up here. So the way a doctor will or any type of healthcare provider to help you with anxiety and depression, it's a total body thing. Let's find out how you spend the day, how much exercise you get, what type of food you get, what type of sleep do you get. How much do you drink alcohol and how do you drink it? What's your relationship with your friends and family? How much do you serve? How much do you volunteer? So it's really a total body thing. It's no longer just take this. And that's what PNI, psychoneuroimmunology, is. It's looking at the whole person, a partnership between healthcare provider and person.
Woohoo, love it. In fact, I was reading the book this morning, and you got to the gut and brain connection, and I went over to a company called Viome. I'm not sponsored by them. I should look into it, where you send in your poop, and they analyze it, and they had just come back with my latest results. 7 or 8 out of 10 keep markers for my gut health had improved. 2 had actually gone down in an effort to improve things. But I'm tweaking it. I'm working on it. And so I'm working on that gut-brain connection. Let's go from there. Let's talk about SNS and PNS. Since we're talking about PNI, let's go to SNS and PNS, because this is total body, isn't it?
It is a total body. And the word is balance. Balance. See, and that's why we use the term balance your immune system. You don't want to hype it up so much. Yeah. You want to balance. Now, the SNS is called the sympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
It's our get up and go. We think, we create, we run marathons. We just get up and go. Our cortisol, stress hormone, good stress, is high, so we can think and create. But then the PNS, the parasympathetic nervous system, is our balancer. I call it like a car. The SNS is an accelerator, when to rev up and go fast. The PNS is the brakes, when to cool it, slow down, take a deep breath, and relax. And a brain in balance is a PNS and SNS in balance. I'm balancing right now, and when to dial up, when to dial down. And today's young people especially, they're dialed up all day long. They're dialed up all day long.
That's what
And
this
I say,
news, doom scrolling, looking
yeah,
at the news,
yeah.
dopamine, dopamine, dopamine,
Oh, don't,
cortisol, cortisol, cortisol.
yeah. And what happens? See, what happens? Sick and tired. See, they say, I'm sick and tired. And I say that's because it's called adrenal fatigue, because the SNS dials up and you use so much energy, and the cortisol, the hormones up in your brain, they send biochemical text messages to your adrenal glands called adrenal, on top of the kidneys, adrenal. And there's where the cortisol is made. The run fast and think fast and move fast and get excited and all that. But eventually, you wear out the adrenal. So you don't have enough cortisol, so you're sick and tired all the time. It's called adrenal fatigue. So when you wear out the head brain, you wear out the gut brain and the adrenal gland. And that's why. That's why it's never, in my 50 years in medical practice, I have never, ever seen a year like this that it's so important for meditation and what I call mini breaks. Mini breaks. Dial up, create, but then every once in a while, even every hour or so, like we started our session. You don't mind if I call this a session today?
Go for it. That's what it feels like, Bill.
You're the partner, the session. Which one of us is a therapist? All right. When we started our sessions today, we started with a little meditation. Take a deep breath. Feel good. And that just quieted our mind. It dialed down our stress center and dialed up our think clearly and speak clearly and all that. And that's how you start. Say you're going into a meeting and you got to give a big presentation. And you're, oh my gosh, is it going to work? Is the slideshow going to work? And all that stuff. No. You know what I do before a talk? I go in the men's room.
That's myself as well. And a prayer or two is said in the men's room as well.
I go in the men's room and I escape from anybody and I stand there in my stall, take a deep breath, and I will meditate for just a few minutes. And then I go out on stage. So just many meditations throughout the day.
See this stone here? I've got this beautiful obsidian stone. My wife, Jessica, she got it for me in Sedona. And an interview can be considered a stressful event. Public speaking is usually at the top. What I do is I help us get centered beforehand. I go quiet to hold space. And then throughout the interview, breathe in, breathe out, send out love. Breathe in, and I'm moving my thumb along it. Breathe out. Send out love. And so I actually take a stressful situation with training the brain, which is what we're talking about here. And I have long-term carved a groove to make my nervous system dial it back so the calmest I am in the day is my interviews.
And I do the same thing. Here's my little brain.
Oh, man, you've got a brain the size of my obsidian rock.
That's my crystal. I got a brain.
Plastic blue brain.
Breathe.
And you're squeezing the brain.
In, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out.
I love you, Bill.
Michael, let's wire you up. Okay, let's imagine just what you said. And you come into my office or to your friendly neighborhood neurologist and say, doctor, I feel so good when I do this. Wire me up. All right. So they said, we're even going to do better. We're going to do what Dr. Mom said.
All right.
Go outside and play.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to take you, Michael, out into the nearest park with all the trees, and we're going to wire you up. We're going to put all these fancy gauges on your head. And we're going to take every fluid that comes from your body anywhere we can get it, and we're going to measure it.
Let's do this the way I meditate in the morning. I sit and I have squirrels and chipmunks in my lap, quite literally. How's that?
Oh, wonderful. Love it. Love it. And so you take a walk in the woods and you think about wonderful thoughts. You think about your beautiful wife, Jessica. You think about the people you've helped on the show, that helper's high from all the people who are feeling better because of my program. And you just meditate in the woods, to take a walk out in nature, because nature balances your brain. And then you come back and you say, well, let me see what happened. And they show you the readout on the sheet of paper that says your happy center got bigger, and your calming center got bigger, and your worry center got smaller. And the levels of your stress hormones went down. The levels of your happy hormones went up. Your heart rate got more balanced. Your breathing rate got more balanced. So you became a person in balance just from a good old walk in the woods and a meditation.
And that's better and more cost effective than a pill.
Absolutely, and what we're talking about science-based stuff today, Michael, because in the field of psychoneuroimmunology, there's a lot of flaky things that have no science behind them. So that's why I remember our first broadcast, our first Skype, you and I were on the same page. Show me the science, because our mental health is too precious not to be founded in solid science. And that's what we're talking about today. Now we have the windows to the brain. Now we have the technology to find out what's going on in there, and we're going to treat it, and then we're going to remeasure it to see if it's working.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm going to send a little plug to another show. We just airing today Dr. Andrew Newberg, who wired up people for meditation. And studied their brains and what it did. And it actually even changed the size of their brains, Bill.
Absolutely. And in fact, Dr. Newberg is one of the first books that I read. And it's so classic because it's his book that stimulated me to write the chapter in our book called Grow Your God Center.
Yes.
Because his whole book, his whole book was on the cerebral and mental value of the belief effect.
God effect.
The belief in a God effect, the belief in effect. So I thank Dr. Newberg. He was one of the pioneers in this.
Very, very cool. So people can catch that interview. We had him on a second time because I've just finishing my book on automatic writing, which is a meditative writing process. And he studied Brazilian channelers on this very thing, and watching the frontal lobe power down, the parietal lobe powering down, the sense of we-ness take over the mind.
It does. And the writing, writing's very therapeutic. Like you say, therapeutic writing. Now, what I do, I take a little dictation machine, a little pocket dictator, or my cell phone machine, and when I'm out walking, say on a golf course, or on the beach, or in the woods, and I think of something, I dictate it right there. I just ramble. I don't think about getting it grammatically correct or anything. I just let my mind go onto the dictation machine, and then I plug it in, I get it typed up, and it's amazing how much, most of my book, actually, the Healthy Brain book, was written while walking.
See, that brings me to then Dr. Michael Merzenich, the father of brain plasticity, and we've had him on the show several times talking about how we were wired back on the savannah or wherever we came from. We were wired for movement. The idea of taking a child and say, sit still and pay attention, is the exact opposite of what we want.
Absolutely. We're wired to walk. And let me expand on that term wired.
Thank you.
Because you nailed it. All right. Now, our bodies are meant to move. Now, we have a whole wellness institute called the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute, and our mantra, our trademark teaching is make your own medicines. Make your own brain medicines, gut medicines, heart medicines, inflammation medicines, whatever medicines you need, you can make them. And the medicines you make are better than what you take because there are no side effects. They're custom made for you. And when you move, just imagine, when you move, you have an internal pharmacy in the lining of your blood vessels. I call it the silver lining. It's called endothelium. So I want our viewers to picture trillions of little microscopic medicine bottles lining your blood vessels, the lining of your blood vessels. And when you move, and this won the Nobel Prize, when you move, the blood flows faster over the tops of the medicine bottles, and floods your brain and your body with all the right medicines. Medicines that heal your hurts, anti-inflammatories, medicines that lower anxiety, antidepressants and anti-anxiety medicines, medicines that mellow your moods. So you remember what Dr. Mom said, go outside and play or walk it off or take a
Yeah.
deep breath. This all now has science behind it. And that's why modern therapists now, say you need a therapist. You call a therapist, and a good therapist, I've seen them doing, okay, I believe I can help you. I will meet you at the corner of the park, and
Woohoo!
we will talk while we walk. Bingo! Isn't that so much better than in a dark, dingy, quiet room?
When someone comes to me and they need a better night's sleep, the first
Aha!
thing I do is I tell them, I want you to go for a walk at either sunrise or sunset because they're going to get movement, and I'm going to hook them up to the circadian rhythm of the planet and get it going through their optic nerve and sink them in good.
That is exactly correct. You mentioned optic nerve.
Yes.
All right. See, the eyes are the windows to our brain. The eyes are actually part of the brain. So what your eyes see, like the blues of nature is right now, I'm looking over your head, over my head, out to the sky, if you don't mind.
No,
and,
go for it.
and sky, hello
That's the blue
sky,
effect.
say hi to the sky. And so the blues, the natural colors that come into the retina of your eye go into the brain, and the brain registers like, and the brain feels good. When the eye feels good, it's like, I feel good, EYE, I feel good. And that's the effect of natural colors. So I tell the young people, so a lot of people have jobs now where they're wired to their computer. Okay, they're wired to an artificial lighted screen all day long. So I said, just periodically turn your chair to the window. Look at the window. And in fact, in Japan, fascinating study in Japan, where they took patients in a hospital who had mental problems and physical problems. They took patients in a hospital and they took half of them and turned their bed toward the window. So they looked from their bed out the window into a woods or garden. And they studied the effect, the garden effect, call it, or the forest effect. And they found that those who spent much of their day looking at nature, they left the hospital quicker and they healed from their operations quicker.
It makes me wonder, Bill, because when I coach people again, I keep going there because these are the fun tools. I'm kicking them outside, take a work for sort of like Dr. Srini Pillai of Harvard, work for 15, 20, 45 minutes at the most, get outside, tinker, dabble, doodle, try, in, out. But it also makes me think of the eyes. If we have myopic vision, if we're looking right in front of us, centered on one thing, that to me is going to create that autonomic nervous system, sympathetic nervous system response. If I can get outside and have an expansive view, even if it's an expansive view of a city, I'm now going to be taking my focus from a very narrow. When you say like, I was thinking hard about a problem, what you're doing is getting a fight or flight response. Now if I can get something more expansive, I'm going to calm down.
Yes, this has been well studied. They did a study like this at the University of Michigan, where they took two groups of people who were assigned a project to create something, to build something. And they had one group walk through the city, and they had the other group go out and walk in the woods. And they came back and they tested them. And they found that the woods walkers were more creative and scored higher on the test than the city walkers. And I remember in serving on the board of some very good corporations. And after 45 minutes in a boardroom, the wise CEO said, okay, now we'll go walk on it. So we would go outside and we walk around and we'd walk outside with the problem and we'd come back with a solution.
Absolutely.
Wow. And that's why what you mentioned in the morning and the evening, this is very true. This has been well studied. And so I tell my patients, I say, well, Michael, what do you do in the morning when you get up? Well, you're my patient. You don't do this, but say you're my patient.
Sure.
You're the worrywart patients I have. And I said, what do you, well, first thing I do, I check my cell phone.
Oh, no.
Right over there on, your cell phone shouldn't be in your bedroom anyway. Then I do my email. Where's your email? No. Then I look at the television. Television shouldn't be in your bedroom anyway. And I say, first of all, screen out. Screen out at least for the first half hour, even 15 minutes of the morning. Get up. The first thing you want to do is open the shades and look outside. You want natural colors. And then next, after you look outside, weather permitting, you go outside. Say hi to the sky. Inhale, take a deep breath. Feel. Good. Feel. Inhale. Good.
I've got to pause you there. See,
Exhale.
I've got to pause you there, Bill, because I think the word no comes to mind right now. N-O. What are you doing, Bill?
I am, you're right. Good breathing is mouth closed on the inhale. And I couldn't talk with my mouth closed, but you're right. Shut, how many times have our wife or our mother, our friends say, shut your mouth. Shut. So I call it my fours. Inhale at the count of 4. Hold your breath at the count of 4. Exhale at the count of 4. And it's called the humming effect. When you hum, the vibration of the tissues of the roof of your mouth, the vibration of the tissue in your nose and all that, good for you. It sends calming, like I call it biochemical text messages to the calming center of your brain. It says, hey, cool it, Michael, cool it, Bill.
And I never get it right. Well, let's see if I get it right today. Nitric versus nitrous is what you put in the car or the dentist's office. Nitric oxide
Yes.
is what we are then taking in, which is a calming chemical to the system.
Yes. Nitric oxide has 2 great effects. It's calming, and we have let's go into the nose for a minute.
Thank
you. Nose. You take a deep breath, sometimes one nostril, both nostrils. You take a deep breath, and the tissue of your nose vibrates. And then the hairs, called the cilia of your nose, vibrate. And they create nitric oxide. And nitric oxide dilates your blood vessels.
Yes.
It dilates your blood vessels. Now, and this is important, every organ of the body is only as healthy as the blood supply to it, like your brain, your worried brain, your stressed out brain. All right, the brain's like a garden. What do you do to make a garden grow better? You fertilize it and feed it and irrigate it. When you take a deep breath, when you move, what you do, you're increasing the blood flow to your brain garden. And the better the brain flow, the better you think. So that's another reason why movement betters your brain.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's go right there. I'm going to skip ahead. I want to cover the top 10 stress busters today. Number 1, if you can't change it, don't worry about it.
Yes, if you can't change it, don't worry about it. And actually, this was done with a study where they studied centenarians, those who not only live to 100, but live happily and healthier.
Yes.
At 100. And they asked them, what is their number 1 tip? And that was it. If you can't change it, don't worry about it. So that's stress buster number 1.
And tell us then about not dwelling on dumb decisions.
Yes. Don't dwell. When you dwell, you dig a well. Don't dwell on something. Don't dig a well and plant it deeply in your head. I call it reframe. Reframe. As soon as a toxic thought comes, say a person got you angry, or a jerk, or a bad email, or bad news, or some worry. As soon as a jerky thought comes in your mind, reframe, reframe, and in that frame you have a bunch of pictures like your wife, or your friend, or your favorite happy place you go to. Reframe. And remember Happy Gilmore, one of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
His girlfriend turned therapist. When Happy was angry and Happy was losing it, she says, "Happy, go to your happy place."
And there's his grandma.
And grandma, and he reframed
Mhm.
his mind into he was scoring the winning goal as a hockey player. See, reframe, reframe. So I have programmed my mind
Yeah.
to that word. Reframe, reframe, reframe.
I love it. I help people to what I call link or make micro habits. So if you go to the negative, we link it to the positive. We're going to be going on a tour, Jessica and myself, in about 6-7 weeks, kind of an
Oh,
Inspire Nation pilgrimage to help bring light to the world during this time in an RV. And we're going to be
oh,
out
oh.
all across the country. Whenever my mind catches something, quote, negative right now, what do?
Yeah,
Bring it back to the tour. Bring it back to the tour. Going to this beautiful place of light and love so the negatives actually create a positive response in
yeah.
my mind.
And see, I like one-liners. So you can remember it. Positivity creates longevity. Positivity creates longevity. Negativity creates neurotoxicity. Neurotoxicity is a withering, stressed out brain, a shrinking brain. So you don't want, in fact, there is a medical term for that. It's called glucocorticoid neurotoxicity. Basically, we're wearing out our brain by negative thoughts.
So what can the hippocampus, is it the hippocampus? I believe it's the hippocampus will do
Yes.
to remove that trash. Actually, let's go to number 2 and then we'll dive into the hippocampus. Number 2,
Uh,
trash toxic thoughts.
Yes, that's just reframe. Trash toxic thoughts. As soon as you know the trash bin on your computer,
Mhm.
as soon as a bad email comes in, trash bin, and so it's almost now it's all for me. It's almost automatic. Trash bin, trash bin, trash bin. Same on your brain. A toxic thought comes in, trash bin, trash bin. That's not worth wasting cerebral real estate. My brain is too precious for that.
And then what's the hippocampus have to do with us removing this toxicity from our minds?
Yes, the hippocampus is like the traffic controller of the brain. And a thought comes in, and it says, do we route that to the happy center? Do you want to store it and dwell on it, or should we trash it in the trash bin? See, so you program your happy hippo to that goes into the trash bin hippo, and eventually it becomes, Michael, it becomes automatic. It took a while for me to learn this, but right now it becomes automatic.
So then, speaking about automatic, what is mind muting?
Oh, mind muting. Mind muting is more. It's like it's like sometimes you want to mute somebody when they're talking to you. Wouldn't you just love somebody's on a rant and you would just like to mute them? So mind mute simply means shut out. Don't go there. It's like the trash bin. Mind mute. I don't want to hear this. Mind mute. I don't want to hear this. Mind mute. And my wife Martha's very good at that. And she says, can we talk very nicely? Can we talk about something else, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
That's her nice way of saying mind mute, mind mute.
So there are times lately, particularly lately, because I see the emotions coming up for all of us, and we are swimming in this field of energy. I've had on a 2-time Nobel Prize nominee, Dr. Irvin Laszlo, talking about the field of energy, quantum field we're in. And so all of our emotions are up during this time. And I say, Jessica, I feel like I want to cry. And she goes, cry. You can do
Good.
it. Cry. And I'm like, well, I just feel like it. And she goes, come on, cry. What
Oh,
does she know, Bill?
oh, she knows. Smart wife. Smart wife. See, it's called therapeutic tears. Therapeutic tears. And if I were to take a few drops of your tears, Michael, during a therapeutic cry and analyze them, they would show high stress hormone. Now, what that tells me about it,
Yeah.
maybe to sidetrack a minute, see, have you ever been told, or Jessica been told, you're too sensitive or you're so sensitive?
That was her motto growing up. She was told that left, right, and center. For me, I love you, parents, but I
Okay.
got you starting to cry. I'll give you something to cry about. Oh gosh.
Yeah, and see, let me, so sensitive. If somebody says to you, you're so sensitive, wow,
That's awesome.
celebrate your sensitivity. What is going on in the world right now? In one word, insensitivity. People not caring about people. A bunch of selfish, insensitive people. So sensitivity is a God-given gift to celebrate. Now, so we need more sensitive people. My wife's sensitive too, and so and women tend to be more sensitive. It must make them wonderful women. However, sensitivity is like a wonder drug. It's a great drug. It makes you feel good. It makes you compassionate. It's what we need. However, people who are compassionate, they need to carry around a larger stress busting toolbox. I am ultra sensitive, therefore I need a bigger toolbox to carry around of all the stress busters because you're always on the verge. Sensitive, too high, you get anxious. Too low, you get depressed. Just right, and you're wonderfully compassionate. So carry around a bigger toolbox.
Thank you. Let's go to number 3. Take a deep cleansing breath.
Ah, cleansing breath. Mm. 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 Now, when you inhale and then you hold it, the oxygen from the little balloons in your belly breath, a deep belly breath.
Yeah.
You go out with the belly, then slowly up with the chest, back with your head a little bit. Don't go like this, but just back. Through your nose, about count of 4, then you hold it just enough for the oxygen to clear up into your blood vessels. And then when you inhale through your nose again and humming, you create that vibration of all those nitric oxide things in your nose and roof of your mouth. And a cleansing breath simply means you're calming center. You're cooling it up there. It's like the worry center says, hey, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, Bill. Take a deep breath, Michael. And your calming center after your deep breath, 1 or 2, like.
Beautiful. Let's go to number 4. Have an attitude of gratitude.
Oh, right now especially. No matter how life sucks, and it does sometimes, we all have a few things to be thankful for. And what they've done, they've actually measured this. When you are wired up with all this neuroimaging, and you're thinking thoughts, the things I am happy and gratitude about, I thank you for my wife. Thank you for my life. And I start my day like this with the attitude of gratitude. Thank you for my life, 80 years. Thank you for my wife, 54 years. Thank you for my health, cancer survivor. Thank you for my wealth, 8 kids. Thank you for my MD. Please make it my ministry. And then I open my eyes, take a deep breath, the attitude of gratitude. And we start teaching this to 7-year-olds called I Am. Parents in my practice taught me this. When you lie down with your kids at night, as they drift off to sleep, 5 things. I am pretty. I am a good soccer player. I am fun. I am. When they wake up in the morning, they replay the I am. The older kids, they have a sheet of paper on their mirror. 5 things I am grateful for. I am grateful for my soccer player. I am grateful for my teacher. I am grateful for my boyfriend. I am grateful, all that. But I am grateful. See, the attitude of gratitude is the most beautiful thing to quiet the mind.
I love it, and I love that you put it for kids. I've done this for years. In fact, I did it until I met Jessica. I haven't done it since. I might go back to it. I put up a plaque in the bathroom, so when I was brushing my teeth, I was
Yeah.
going through all the things I was grateful for, which
Yes.
has me hunting. When I start, if I was coaching you, Bill, today, and we got on the line, before you tell me anything about what went wrong and what this, I would say, Bill, give me some positives.
Aha, so positive, exactly. Again, positivity creates longevity. And when you say you do that before you go to bed,
Yeah.
what it does, it puts you in the right frame of mind. Remember that reframing? Puts you in the right frame of mind to go to sleep. Sleep is a stress buster, if I could jump ahead.
Go for
A
it.
good night's sleep. Because when you sleep is when your immune system comes out, and it's like a night cleaning job. It's like I'm drifting off to sleep and the night crew comes. The night crew called the glia cells in your brain. It comes out and it sweeps the brain of all the junk you don't want to accumulate during the day. And then the blood vessels, the lymphatic system, the rivers of your brain widen during sleep. It's called the lymphatic system. So during sleep is when the night crew sweeps more garbage into more rivers that sweep the garbage away from your brain.
So think about this, Bill, because I think the glia cells are working, the lymphatic system is working, particularly over time today. We are reprogramming our minds by what we think about right before sleep. What if we were doom scrolling, looking at the news, looking at the bad stuff on Facebook, watching whatever news is on TV right before we go to bed? What are we doing to our brains?
What are you doing? You're in hormonal imbalance. Your stress hormones are high. Your melatonin, your calming hormone. Oh, the feel good, that sleep nag you get. Oh, it's time to go to bed. That's melatonin. See, so you're just doing the opposite. You're waking up your awake hormones, cortisol, which should only be high in the morning, and you're calming down the sleep and the relaxing hormones. Just the opposite. So, good night, bad news. Lights out, screen time out an hour before you go to bed.
Thank you, thank you. So let's go to number 5, manage anger before it manages you.
Yes, anger can really get on you. And I experienced that a few days ago where I had a call from a jerk, a complainer, and it was so easy to be a jerk, and I just would,
Well, he gifted it to
right,
you.
Now, however, anger, if you get angry, you can't think properly. So the anger turns on a center of your brain that you cannot think and make wise decisions. So anger makes you even more angry and stresses out your brain. And that's why, remember mom said, you're angry. Go outside and take a walk and come back. Take a walk and come back. Take a deep breath and let's talk about it. And my wife is just a master of that. When our kids were losing it, I remember when our kids, we called hissy fits sometimes, a hissy fit. My wife was so calm and take a deep breath. And I asked her, I said, Martha, how did you know what to do? I said, well, I got behind the eyes of one of our children. I said, if I were Lauren or if I were Hayden, how would I want my mother to react? And they didn't want me to be angry because they were losing it. They wanted my control. So they wanted a soft, caring voice.
Thank you. And the last thing on anger is you say that our brain gets inflamed with anger.
Inflamed is exactly the right word. Inflamed means that we get damaging high levels of inflammation hormones. I call it sticky stuff.
Yes.
Stuff that gets up into your blood vessels and your brain and literally withers your brain garden by toxic thoughts. That's what anger does.
Would the antidote to that be the helper's high?
The helper's high. That means we feel good by doing good. And you and I, at the end of this session again. My God, I keep coming back to sessions. I feel you're my therapist. Okay. At the end of these sessions, I'm going to feel high and happy because, and you will too, because maybe 3 or 4 thousand viewers will look at what we said, think about what we said, read in our book what we said, and then they will feel better.
All right, so tell us, Bill, about number 6. Meditate more, which we were just doing because we ran into some technical difficulties. Agitate less.
Yes, meditate more, agitate less. And sometimes when I do counseling in my office, I open sometimes with, I'll say, John, you need to meditate more, agitate less. See, the whole art of meditation, once upon a time we thought meditation is just for monks.
Yeah.
No, at no time in my experience of 50 years as a doctor, at no time in my history has meditation even been more important. The busier you are, the more you learn to be meditative. And meditation is simply quieting the mind. It's like the mind is saying, quiet me for a few minutes so I can rest and reboot me so I can be creative again. So I call it mini meditations throughout the day, even if it's just for a couple minutes. Whatever you want to call it, centering. What I love is I pick something that I like, a picture or a happy place or a scene from our wedding or our 50th wedding anniversary or some happy scene, and I just think about it, replay. And I call it, it's automatic negative thoughts. They're called ants.
Yes.
And I call meditation my ant repellent. When ants come into my mind, okay, time, take a deep breath and just meditate for a few minutes.
Thank you. On top of ants, you have something called M&M, music and meditation.
Musical meditation. In fact, Michael, there's a whole science, the science of music meditation, because music mellows the mind. Music clicks into the calming center of your brain. And so I tell my patients, have a music medley on your iPod. The music that mellows your mind, the music that maybe excites you, the music that mellows you, whatever mood you need to be in, put that mood music on. Mood music, the term mood music, has a reason. And one of the things that my best mellower is I learned how to dance. And Martha was a great dancer. And for our 50th wedding anniversary, I read her a poem about my dance. And I said, 50 years ago, when you said I do, did you really think it through? And then you knew our marriage had a chance when your klutzy husband learned how to dance. I found dancing and music mellows your mind. So guys, learn how to dance.
And to steal a line from you, I feel that I shall never see a lady lovely as you are to me.
Oh, you remember that. Yeah, it was Martha and I were walking in the woods one day. I just thought of that to her.
Beautiful.
Poetry.
Last thing before we go on to the next one. I used to live in the Outer Banks. I used to live in Hawaii. And my ritual not each morning, at least every other morning, was get to the ocean. And quiet, stroke after stroke, quiet the mind.
That's what, see, it's called movement meditation. I love movement meditation where you move with the mantra. And I did this morning. I'm on the beach, and I close my eyes, and I say, feel the breeze, hear the seas, open your eyes, and see the trees. Musical meditation, poetry meditation.
And then there's even meditation swims. Let's go from there. Number 7. believe in a higher power. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but can you go into more detail for the brain, the God effect?
Yes, the God effect, and you mentioned Dr. Andrew Newberg, who discovered all this by studying it, is basically believers heal quicker, called the belief effect. This is why all doctors have noticed that one of the first things they say when you're healing from something, they say, have a prayer warrior group, have a prayer army out there praying for you, because for something, the more you believe you will heal, the more you will. And I think what happens is when you believe in God, you will heal me, I believe, the answer comes.
Let's go from there to number 8. Start your day the peaceful way. And what do you call front loading?
It's called front loading or preloading, meaning when you start the day, I start my day with meditation, like we talked about. I start my day with a meditation swim, swim with a mantra. Guide me, good God, or something like with a mantra. Movement meditation, it could be a walk in the park, movement meditation. But when you start the day the peaceful way, you are preloading the brain. And preloading means you're telling the brain, hey, brain, this is the way I want to start the day. I'm brightening my day in the way I want you to behave the rest of the day. And the brain says, thank you. You started the day that way. We're going to finish the day that way.
To me, I call it setting intention. If your intention is, I am going to have a positive, happy day, and that is my number one, I call it the SMP, my single-minded purpose for the day is to have a happy day. I'm going to have a happy day.
Yes, have a happy day.
And then number 9, enjoy the helper's high, because if our single-minded purpose is to help others during this day, what's going to happen to our brains?
Yes, the helper's high we talked about. The helper's high, when they discovered this on people who volunteer a lot, the helper's high calms your anxiety center, grows your happy center, and you feel good by doing good. It's as simple as that. You feel good by doing good.
Thank you. So before we wrap things up, I want to touch briefly on depression, because some people are getting wired and some people are getting buried with depression right now. What's going on in the mind?
Well, if you said, what is the best thing I could do? Give me one thing to do for depression. The quickest result, the quickest medicine. Go outside and play. See? Because we want to get better fast. And medicines will help sometimes, psychology and therapy and all this, cognitive behavioral therapy, I call it think change in the brain. But if you want to have the quickest result, and it's hard because sometimes it's hard to get off the couch. If you want to have the quickest result, is vigorous movement outdoors would be the best.
And it's interesting because at this time, first it was it quarantine in place, then it was stay at home, now it's safer at home, and now we're going back into the quarantine. People feel like I shouldn't get out, I shouldn't move, which is the reverse of what we need, isn't it?
Absolutely. And see, by quarantine, it doesn't mean stay indoors. Stay at home, you have a backyard, you have a balcony, or you can go out in a park. You can go out when social distancing. If you go outside with people, you will wear a mask. But we need to move. The worst thing you can do during this pandemic for the immune system and your brain is to sit too much. And that's why we need to get the kids back to school. Kids need to move.
Kids do need to move. I'd like to actually see new schools where they walk the kids and take them out in exploration, and we learn, take them to a state park, take them to a national park, and learn while moving.
Oh, one of my favorite patients said my child, all his D's, ADD and ADD, went away when we found a forest school, they called it. a school in which they do, as weather permitting, most of their education outdoors, and they take a daily walk in the woods.
Woohoo! Couple last questions. We'll wrap things up here, Bill. What can you tell us about the brain and thyroid and depression?
Brain and thyroid, see that they're related. The brain is like your commander-in-chief of your hormonal system army.
Yeah.
And the hormones are like a symphony orchestra. And the brain is your master conductor. And one of the biggest changes is autoimmune. Thyroiditis is an epidemic right now, and called Hashimoto's. And that simply means that your brain is out of balance, so your hormones are out of balance, and your immune system is out of balance. So in addition to medical care, if you get your brain back in balance, the rest of your hormonal system is likely to follow.
Very, very good. So where can people go, Bill, to find the Healthy Brain book and find out more?
The Healthy Brain book at all the booksellers is available on Amazon. And Michael, we are donating all the profits from the Healthy Brain book to charity.
Woohoo! Website, Bill, that you want to send people to?
Well, they can go to AskDrSears.com.
Yep.
Our website. They can do to our wellness site, Dr. Sears Wellness Institute.org. Those are the two sites, AskDrSears.com and Dr. Sears Wellness Institute.org.
Fantastic. And any last words of wisdom you want to share, Bill? I think we are going to both have a helper's high from this. And I think everybody who's listening, who then goes and shares it with other people or gives this advice to other people, are going to have a helper's high as well.
Yeah. Eat more fruits, veggies, seafood, and go outside and play.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Bill. This has been fantastic, so I cannot thank you enough.
Oh, you're welcome, Michael. I enjoyed it.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get the Healthy Brain book, and begin changing your way to a healthier, happier, stress-free brain today. And shine bright. Woohoo!
Oh!
Wow, wow, wow. Did I just have a beautiful, stress-reducing, depression-eliminating, healthier, happier brain interview with Dr. William Sears. To check out more incredible interviews on lifting your brain and reducing stress, worry, anxiety, and depression, click here, subscribe below, click on the bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, and live events every Sunday night with me. Be sure to check out our boot camps and mini masterclasses. Click on that link below, and a limited amount of coaching one-on-one with me. Big thumbs up if you like this. Leave your comments below. Love you guys so much. Shine bright. Woohoo! Love you guys.